The bread that was shared. On a forgotten corner of the city, where footsteps pass quickly and almost no one stops to look down, there lived a man named Samuel. He had no home. He had no close family. He had no possessions, except an old blanket, a metal cup, and a worn backpack. He slept under a concrete bridge where the wind slipped in at night like a cold and relentless visitor. But Samuel still carried something that many with solid roofs and full bank accounts had long ago lost. He carried a tender heart. He had not always been homeless. There was a time when he worked in a repair shop. There was a time when he laughed with friends. There was a time when he had a modest home and simple dreams. But life sometimes shifts without warning, and illness took his job. Debt took his house. Pride distanced him from those who might have helped him. And slowly, without fully realizing it, he found himself living on the streets. Yet he never allowed bitterness to take root in his soul. Every morning he sat in the same corner. He did not shout. He did not demand. He simply watched the world go by. He observed elegant suits, glowing phones, hurried eyes that avoided his own. Some days he received a coin, some days nothing at all. But that morning was different. It was winter. The cold bit into his skin. His fingers were numb. And inside his backpack he carried the only food he had for the day, a small round loaf of bread that a bakery had given him the night before. To him that bread was treasure. He sat down in his usual place. He carefully took it out. He held it in his hands as if holding something sacred. The simple smell of flour and yeast reminded him of better days. He was about to take his first bite when he heard a dry cough behind him. He turned slowly. A few steps away, leaning against the wall, sat another man, younger, much thinner. His cheeks were hollow, his eyes were dim. What his face showed was not just hunger. It was exhaustion. It was defeat. His hands were trembling. Samuel looked at him in silence. The bread suddenly felt heavier in his hands. He could ignore him. He could pretend not to see. He could tell himself that he needed to survive too. And it would have been true. He was hungry as well. He had gone entire days without food before. But when their eyes met, something deep happened. There was no demand in the younger man's gaze. There was only need. And inside Samuel's heart, a quiet battle began. Fear whispered that tomorrow might bring nothing. Instinct told him to protect what little he had. But love, that simple love that does not make noise, began to speak louder. Samuel took a deep breath. He stood up slowly. He walked toward the man. He sat beside him without saying a word. He broke the bread in two, and he handed him half. The man looked at him as if he could not believe it, as if this small act shattered the invisible rules of a world where those who have little must cling to everything. His lips trembled. "Thank you," he whispered with a broken voice. Samuel simply nodded. And they began to eat together. It was not a feast. It was not abundance. It was dry bread under a cold bridge. But there was something different about that moment. There was dignity. There was humanity. There was real love. As they ate, the younger man began to cry. "I thought I didn't matter to anyone anymore," he said quietly. Samuel looked at him with tenderness. "You always matter," he answered. Those words warmed more than the bread. We often believe that wealth is about accumulating, about storing, about protecting. But that morning, beneath a forgotten bridge, two men proved something greater than any fortune. True wealth is not measured by what you possess. It is measured by what you are willing to give. Hours later, a woman who had been passing by in her car had witnessed the scene from a distance. She did not hear their words. She did not know their stories. She simply saw a man who appeared to have nothing share the only thing he had. And something inside her shifted. She returned with hot coffee, with blankets, with food. But the most beautiful part was not the help that followed. The most beautiful part was that Samuel had not shared expecting a reward. He did not do it to be seen. He did not do it to receive something in return. He did it because his heart did not know how to close itself. And this is where the story becomes yours. Maybe today you do not have abundance. Maybe you are walking through a difficult season. Maybe you feel as though you barely have enough strength for yourself. But there is always something you can share. A word of encouragement, a sincere smile, a warm embrace, a quiet prayer, a small act of kindness. Never underestimate the power of little when it is given with love. There are people with large houses and empty hearts. And there are people without a roof but with luminous souls. Wealth is not a number. Wealth is an attitude of the heart. If you have ever felt that your contribution is too small, remember that loaf of bread broken in two. That bread fed two bodies, but it also ignited hope and awakened compassion in someone else. Real love multiplies when it is shared. Today, I want to embrace you through these words. If you are the one who has little, do not lose your generosity. If you are the one in need, do not lose hope. If the world feels cold, become the warmth someone else is longing for. Wealth is measured by what you give, not by what you accumulate, not by what you display, not by what you guard out of fear. It is measured by your ability to love even when it costs you something. May your heart never grow indifferent. May fear never close your hands. May pain never extinguish your light. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for allowing these stories to embrace your soul. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe and help me grow this beautiful community of faith and hope. May you never lack bread, and may you never lack a heart willing to share it.